People are going to project on you. They're going to misunderstand you relentlessly. I know all too well the reflex to want to correct other people or tell them who you are or get the story straight. I have that reflex too. But what if that reflex is just another layer of appeasement, of survival? In this video, we're going to talk a little bit about why that's true, how to stay in your truth and in your center, even when others miscast you, misrepresent you, misunderstand you, what's at stake in doing so, and what's also at stake in continuing self-abandonment through appeasement. And by the end of it, you'll have a pretty clear sense of what sovereign kindness looks like in the context of letting others be wrong about you and the freedom that comes with that. So let's just get this straight. Over-explaining is not about clarity. It's about control. Just like how people-pleasing is not about kindness, it's about control as well. These are both layers of the same thing, appeasement and survival, seeking belonging to feel safe, outsourcing safety or inner safety, inner authority to others, to our relationships, to our environments, rather than moving to a place of sovereignty or self-governance. When you over-explain, you're under the surface. You might even feel like you're in integrity. You might even feel like you're sharing, you're expressing your truth. And this is where, standing in your truth and expressing truth can be really nuanced. And I should do a whole video on that alone. But oftentimes the mind can trick you into thinking that's what you're doing. But under the surface, what you're really doing or saying is, if I can just control your perception about me, then I'm safe. It's actually self-abandonment because, again, you're outsourcing your safety to someone else. And you are abandoning yourself and your process by being more present with the other persons. Very similar to people-pleasing, just a different iteration of it, or a different manifestation of it. Real sovereignty is getting to a place where you know yourself and all your intricacies and quirks and shadows and lightness and every particle that you are from a true place of awareness, and not just know yourself, but have stepped into alignment and your center, where you're moving from a place of center. I always think of like the solar plexus chakra, like that core center being lit up, the fire, the flame is on. And because I really feel like when I'm in my truth, like my core lights up, like it's that sort of energy of like, this is who I am. And it's very much like an embodied thing. And as you let that part of you, the deepest, truest part of you kind of come out and be seen a little bit more, even if just by you or close, good friends, the more your truth is the real thing. And other people's projections, therefore, start to become so irrelevant. It's a natural effect, a natural reaction to that. And when other people misunderstand you, it starts to become less of let me contort myself or explain myself, and more of a test for, do I trust my truth? Because if you don't trust your truth, then you may end up explaining yourself. But if you do, does anything really need to be said? If you're standing in your center and in your truth, do you need to open your mouth? This is for me as well. Do you send a clarifying text message hoping to be seen and received to someone who's likely not going to see you without their own projections or limitations? Do you choose to stand in your truth so firmly that you don't need to say a word to anyone and that you can just let that have a ripple effect on others, and let it make people uncomfortable if it makes people uncomfortable, or let it make you uncomfortable if other people don't mirror who you really are back to you? If someone says something wrong about you, or they tell a story that clearly misrepresents you, try not saying anything, but rather coming back into yourself and seeing it as a test, and ask yourself, do I trust that they are wrong? Truly, and can I sit with that trust? Because if you can sit with that trust, there's nothing else to do other than just to continue to be who you are. Same thing as if you express clarity, in a really truthful, clean, regulated way, but it's still uncomfortable and it ruffles some feathers and it collapses distortion. Are you going to apologize? Do you need to apologize when it's coming from a clean, conscious place? What if you just let it land and see what happens and go regulate and take a deep breath and sit on the grass and come into the present moment and just see what would shift if you didn't try to immediately come in and save the day? What if you set a boundary and you don't immediately collapse the second someone else projects onto it or responds with discomfort? What if you stood firmly in integrity with the boundaries that you set and see how other people rearrange or collapse or whatever needs to happen? What if it could be an experiment to just see what happens if other people hold on to their story about you without you feeding it? Because again, every time you try to explain or correct someone, you're actually shrinking yourself down into their paradigm and into their experience and their perception. Without you feeding it, maybe it would just collapse under its own weight, especially as you continue to stand in integrity. And if it doesn't, then that's okay. If they double down on their distortions too, you can double down on your sovereignty, on your inner authority and your truth, your embodiment of your truth and knowing who you are better than anybody else. Let them tell their story, but you get to live yours. You get to be who you really are. Stand in your truth, and the world rearranges around you. Just remember that truth almost never needs to be explained. It needs to be embodied. And that is not cruelty. That is sovereign kindness.